Alright, so now we got the footy game. It's a made-up game that Australians made between soccer and rugby. Yeah, we're at Federation Square now. Just chilling. Watching commercials. Lots of commercials.
If you showed your support by sacrificing a few hours sleep to attend this morning's dawn service,
good times.
I'd like to say thank you.
Hi.
And at some stage today, remember to stop.
Old's a roommate. Pretty good. From Germany. Nice guy.
So I'm taking a tour today, and it's a big tour. The problem is they are running late, so they're going to pick me up from Federation Square. So I have to book it on down there. I have an hour. They were going to pay for my taxi, like reimburse me, but I don't feel like taking a taxi for an hour. Not an hour, but I don't feel like waiting that long, because in an hour I can get down to Federation Square, so that's not a problem. So I'm just going to head down there and chill out there. But I panicked because you're supposed to call them 40 hours beforehand for any booking, and I didn't do that. So I thought maybe like bad on me. That's cool. It's bad on them. So I'm gonna head down there. So we stopped at a bird thingy for morning tea, and yeah, we got some like cockatoos and galahs, and I forget the other name of the other thing, but yeah, your cockatoos. Which are those, which we all are familiar with. The galahs, which little cute little red pink birds, and then over there is something I don't remember the name of. R something. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so it's just people just going around feeding the birds, taking pictures. The birds are landing on people and they're holding them because they're very used to people. The birds are. So yeah, it's nice.
They're riding on the train, the Puffy Billy.
Go the other side. Very smoky. So stopping at one of the wineries, they provided us lunch, had some wine. It was pleasant. It was really cool actually, because there's a lot of Australians on holiday to Melbourne. So I've been able to talk with them, asking them, some are from Adelaide, some are from Sydney, and just to get a really good feel of what is Australia like, and we just talk, and it's pretty cool. I mean, Australians are very worldly, from what I've seen, at least the touristy ones. They've been to places, they've done things, so that's really cool. I'm pretty sure there's tons of Americans, same thing. Like once you get out of the house, you keep on getting out of the house, and you just see more and more things, you see more and more places. And this is just a winery, nothing fancy here. I guess it's just more like a touristy spot. This particular tour has felt really, really touristy. It's a giant bus. The bus driver is he has a very like monotone sort of voice, very similar to mine, but not so low. But the thing is, I keep on falling asleep every time he gets into like a second paragraph. I just knock out, and so it's been a really good napping time. But I think I'm missing the sights. This area, what I've seen, kind of feels like Pennsylvania. It really just feels like the suburbs of Pennsylvania. And he's like, oh, it's a nice temperate forest and just really unique to the area. But it really feels like I'm just driving through Westchester right now. It's nothing special to me, it just feels like home. So I guess if I really am homesick, if I ever live in this area, just come up here and just have a nice little vacation. I just feel like I'm back on Boog Road next to Pierce Middle School. Now in the Healesville Sanctuary, you have all these little guys living together. So you have the koala, the wallaby, birds, and something else, I forget the name of it.
Special requirements because they know that twice tomorrow they'll get a fresh lot anyway. No, they should get late female. That one over there is a male. That's Benny. Benny's I think that, I'm not sure if that's our youngest brother or not. But he's the father of our youngest brother. I need to see. Yeah, I lived at Paul Capital. Well, it's all around my house there. And I won nearly every year that had two. I always thought it was twin before I read it up.
What I want you to do though, see if you can pick what he does with that food. There you go, once he catches it. Did anyone here see what he did? It was pretty quick. He passed it straight from his feet into his beak and he ate it as he's flying around. It's what we call feeding on the wing. I've learned to do this because it's a very energy efficient way of feeding. We might get a chance to see that again from Jasper. Here we go. There we go, good example there. Simply means he doesn't have to land and take off every single time he catches a small piece of food, which is a really energy efficient way of getting around. Now when it comes to adapting to an ever-changing world, these whistling kites have been spectacularly successful. So successful in fact, they've learned to live alongside people and they take advantage of some of our habits and our behaviours. And you can see them quite occasionally in large numbers around places like abattoirs, fishing ports, rubbish dumps, places where they can find their little bits. Another one of the bird species that have made a real success out of sharing the environment with people. Very intelligent and popular birds. They're often seen in large, noisy social flocks. They're a really familiar sight in the Australian landscape, and I'm sure most of you have seen them already. If you haven't, you probably will. You can see them in parks, gardens, golf courses, sometimes even in our busy city streets. But cockatoos like Quasi here, they can live longer than most of us, up to 100 years. Just think about the changes they've seen in the last 100 years. Imagine the changes they might see in the next 100 years. But can you imagine Australia without them? Amazing, really large forward-facing eyes, just like people do. And although owls have given up the ability to see in colour and they only see in black and white, they still see 35 times better than you and I. Have amazing eyesight. They also have some pretty spectacular hearing. Owls have what we call lopsided or offset ears. It gives them such accurate hearing that they can pinpoint and catch their prey without even having to see it. They are superbly adapted for the night time. But while Timber's out here today, just watch what he does with his head. He's continually turning his head around. Sometimes like that, it looks like he turns his head all the way around. Owls can't quite do that, but they can turn their heads in an arc of 270 degrees, which is
have about 1,000 of these beautiful birds left. Now, as you can tell, of course, they're really large cockatoos, and they need really large old trees to survive. So again, these birds are looking for trees that are probably up to 200 years old before these trees start to form the hollows that will suit such a large cockatoo. And these birds, as you can see well, have a very big beak, and it's a very specialised tool. There's a few trees that these birds like to feed from, things like the casuarinas, so the pseudo species, and a couple of types of eucalypts. That's about all these birds will feed from. Again, they lose their feeding trees and their different trees as they get back to the birds in the wild. Animals and reptiles as well. But as you can see, they're very comfortable on the ground because there's other food they find on the ground. So these birds go looking for dead and dying animals that they find on the ground, and they go looking for the nests of other birds. Because if you can find a nest, that's great. You can find eggs and you can find chicks, which are a really easy food source for these birds. And typically birds will nest up in trees, but there are a few birds that nest on the ground. And these birds, they love to rob those nests. So things like swans, broglers, bustards all lay their eggs on the ground, and so does Australia's largest bird. Now maybe one of you can tell me, what is Australia's largest bird? I reckon you probably all saw one maybe when you first came through the gates. A really big bird, didn't fly away. An emu, that's right. So emus are very large birds, and not surprisingly, they lay very big eggs. I'm going to show you what an emu egg looks like. This is my pretend emu egg. This one's made of plaster, but you can see it's a big egg. If this was a real one, there'd be enough food in here to keep Beatrice going for 3 or 4 days. So it's a great food source. The hard part though is getting into these eggs. They do have very thick shells. She can't just use her feet to get into it. So we'll pop it on the ground. Hopefully Beatrice is going to show you just what to do to get into these eggs. Her feet won't do the job. She needs a little bit of help. I've got that here. It's a very special tool. It's actually not a very special tool. That's just a rock. We're going to see what happens when a buzzard finds a rock and an emu egg. They go whack. Oh, she's not the first go today. What we're going to do is going to finish it off. All right, let's be a little bit tricky. Don't tell her I'm going to turn it over. Let's see if we can get her to smash it into 5,000 pieces. There's your rock. She knows I'm trying to trick her today, I think. Just looking at me going, oh, that's going to look fair. Here we go. Right. Lines it up. Oh, she's found the piece inside. He's too clever for me. What I'm going to say, you might want to give her a round of applause. That's a good work today. Now, some people think that what you've seen is a clever trick. We've taught our buzzards how to do that. It's actually not a trick. Okay? You actually don't need to teach black-breasted buzzards how to do that. That's what we call an instinctive behaviour or a natural adaptive skill. And what you've seen is very clever because there are only 2 birds in the whole world that use that technique to get into a food source. Now obviously you've just seen one of them in action, the black-breasted buzzard here in Australia. The other bird that will do that comes all the way from Africa. It's called the Egyptian vulture.
Now these wedge-tailed eagles are standout raptor adapters. They have amazing eyesight. An eagle like Jesse can see a moving rabbit from over a kilometre away, which is pretty impressive. Rabbits do make up a large part of the diet, of the eagle's diet, but they'll also hunt other things, occasionally other birds, reptiles, and mammals up to the size of an adult wallaby. They're quite capable of taking, so very powerful hunters. There we go, look at that. Oh. Nice and close today. Now the great thing about the flight, wedge-tailed eagles soar and glide on broad, upswept wings. Their sheer size and power is a pretty impressive sight. But you'll see while Jess is nice and low that he has these big powerful shoulders, hooked, meat-tearing beak. And some of you get a nice close look at those really long, curved, extremely sharp talons on the end of his toes. In the sky there. Now the hours of sunrise and sunset, wedge-tailed eagles will find themselves a nice prominent perch, usually right up on top of a big old dead tree. They look out over the land just to make sure there's no other eagles in that territory before they head off to bed. Did I mention they hunt wallabies? Jess is alright though, he wouldn't hurt a fly, would he, Jess? Alright, how about you give him a big round of applause? He's done a great job. Now, as I said, he does think he's the star of the show, so much so he demands his own microphone.
I think so too.
So Kevin, would you like to say hi? Good. Now Kev, are you ready to work for us now? Yeah. Today we've been looking at adaptations of birds, and we've already seen some pretty amazing adaptations of our birds. But Kevin here, he's going to show us the most important adaptation of all birds. Be quick, you want to show us again? What's the most important adaptation? Wings. They also need their wings to fly around, that's pretty obvious. But we saw Timber the barking owl. We talked about Timber being able to turn his head in an arc of 270 degrees, which is a lot further than you and I can. But Kevin here, he's going to give it a go. Kev, how far in can you see? 60 degrees. That's pretty clever. Now we also talked about Jasper the whistling kite. Right, so I think he's doing pretty well. In fact, if he keeps that up, he's going to be dancing soon. Right, now, when people come and see the Spirits of the Sky show here at Healesville, quite often they think it's the big birds of prey flying around that are really scary. No one ever really thinks Kevin is scary, or the other parrots for that matter, but Kevin's here to tell you something different. Kevin here, he's probably the scariest bird we have. In fact, he's about as scary as a tiger. Oh, that was a bit weak. How about we get a big one? Are you scary like a tiger? There we go. You see the claws as well? Kevin. Now today we have only spoken about parrots and birds of prey, but all birds are cool, aren't they, Kev? Yeah, that's right. So we need to look after all the birds out there in the wild, not just the ones we've seen here today. Now, because Kevin here thinks he is the star of the show, he'd like you all to give him a big wave goodbye. Can you give him a big wave? Big wave. Another one. Good boy. He also expects the loudest clap of all. Big round of applause.
Hyena or something.
Yes, they're marsupials. So was the Tasmanian tiger, it was marsupial.
It's a pity.
Disappeared, yes. I think this is a local wallaby too, for sure. Could be a redneck wallaby or Kennex wallaby, as they're called in Tasmania. Lovely little animals, they get very quiet. Now this is definitely the local wallaby, one with the white hip. That's Wallabia bicolor, and that's the one that's got different DNA from the others. Of course, you can see how quiet they are in here. Find them in the... We'll do a lot if we can. So that's the rock wallaby up there on the rock.
here's dinner at Royal Mail. Royal Mail is one of the few restaurants in Melbourne that serve kangaroo. And so it took a little while to get here. About like a 5-minute walk from my place. But yeah, that's Tasmanian light beer. Light in alcohol, not in calories. Chips, which is fries, with like a mayonnaise garlic sauce and ketchup. And then my kangaroo. Yeah. And then water in a fancy glass. I just finished my kangaroo and part of my chips and some of my beer, but I am just way too full. And the service was excellent. The Royal Mail was great. It's a little pricey, but I mean, it's Australia, so everything's kind of pricey. But again, the service was really great. Atmosphere was fantastic, and yeah, I was really happy with the place. So I highly recommend it. And the kangaroo was very well done. They did a really good job with the meat. It didn't taste weird, and the texture wasn't weird at all. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Alright, so heading home now. I got the aisle seat, which is pretty fantastic for my 15-hour flight. Yeah, awesome. Gonna go to LA, gonna meet up with Grace, and it'll be early morning, about 6 in the morning, and then I'll hop on the next flight to go to Dallas, and then to Philadelphia.